I'm looking at setting up a new world when the 1.20 stable release comes out. And in one of my videos I've showed you what sort of settings I'm going to use, but I've changed my mind on one of the settings. Let me look on customize, and I want to go to, it's the world generation. We've got land cover here 100% and this upheaval rate of 30%. Okay, now it's set when you open the screen at 100% land cover and 30% upheaval rate. Now, what I am going to do is to alter that balance, and it's one of the things that I think gives a really, really good feel to the world if you get it right for you. Now, the upheaval rate, I'm just going to shorten it to uplift. When you have an upheaval rate of 70% land cover and 30% uplift, it has nothing to do, this upheaval rate has nothing to do with the world height. Forget world height, that is a completely different issue. It is where you have the mountains and the plains, it is the way in which these two interact with each other. So with a 70% land cover, and this is not in any way meant to be to scale, it's just showing you the concept, and 30% upheaval rate, you almost get this right angle. This curve is very, very abrupt, and this makes getting round the map more difficult, and it's one of the things that does affect how your world is played. Now, I tried going to 70% land cover because I do want big oceans, and a 40% uplift. And if you do that, you soften this curve. These two chalk sand blocks are meant to show the softening of the curve. But because you've got more, I think, weight of earth here is the best way to explain it, it pushes out. So you get an additional block, or blocks, I mean this would be hundreds of blocks, heading out into the water. So although you get a nice softening of this curve, I'm not sure whether a softening of the parabolic curve is the correct expression, it does actually then lessen the amount of water you've got. And I tried this on a world, which I'm thinking of using, and although it was much, much better, this transition round the mountains, I felt that I was back to large lakes rather than connected seas. So I then moved to 60% land cover and 40% upheaval rate. And that proved to be magic, because that way I got the same softening of this curve, but because I'd gone for 60% land cover, I'd lessened it. I still got the nice seas I wanted. So it's all about, this upheaval rate is all about the abruptness of this transition. So it's a huge thank you to a guy called Riven Delver, because Riven Delver has been looking into this. He's part of the players on Aura Fury, and he has explained this in a way that I now understand it for the first time, and it really is, once you've grasped it, quite an interesting thing when you're setting up the worlds. Now, the other thing that Riven Delver said is whatever you do, do not go for 50% land cover. The uplift is not the issue, but he said when you try to do 50% land cover, the game can't make its mind up whether to give preference to the water or the land, so you end up with some very odd worlds. So having started at the idea that when I set up a new world in the world gen, I would go to 70% land cover and 30% upheaval rate, that is too abrupt. So I am going to go, because I want the seas as well as that softening of that curve, 60% land cover, 40% uplift. And that's where I will get the right amount of water, but I will soften this curve between the mountains and the plains. So that's why I'm changing my mind. And Riven Delver, thank you very, very much, because that was very clearly explained in a way I hadn't grasped before. And another friend of mine, Rowley, says that he's tried the 60% land cover, 40% uplift with Worlds, and he said he's getting good results with that. So that's why I'm going to change that in my settings. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope I managed to explain that as clearly as Riven Delver did. I don't think so, because he was very clear and he managed to get me grasping it. Bye bye, my friends.